A pirate ship made out of scotch tape and scissors and duct tape. It is continuing. We have sailed through the storm back to calmy seas here. Welcome back, everybody. Artist Journal, July 24th, 2023, broadcasting from a new location in Berlin, Germany, Friedrichshain. It's kind of like Blade Runner. If I was to film Blade Runner, I would do it in this neighborhood, so that's pretty cool. Everything you hope for from Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and welcome back. Welcome back, and thank you for all the well wishes for the move. The move seems to have been successful. So far, so good. There are moving boxes everywhere. And again, hanging by a thread here, but we are here and we're ready to go. And there's a ton to get through today, and there's just a ton I need to do. Rhodes is on fire, which is where my vacation is in a couple of weeks. And so, yeah, so all sorts of stuff. Let's hope everything goes well for those people out there. It's a pretty tragic thing. I heard arson. The authorities suspect arson. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. This is not the world news, not yet. This is not a news channel. Welcome back. This is Yolain, actually, is who this is. And as you see here, we haven't looked at Yolain's work for a while, simply because I've missed it. And what you see here is AI and digital art, is how Yolain describes it. We've been tracking Yolain's work for, maybe since October last year when we started looking at AI art, I think late August in 2022, which feels like yesterday, but it feels like a world away at the same time. And so what we've noticed with Yolain, who's, as you can see here, a really interesting artist, what we've seen this year is a lightening of the palette, which is quite interesting. And there seems to be a real kind of, I'm always trying to pinpoint it, a real kind of almost modernist feel to the whole thing, but it's quite its own thing. And the reason I say that is, like, if you look in the corner down here, I mean, to me, these feel like almost Matisse-esque, shapes here. But then I look at the palette, which has lightened up a bit, and it's almost like Picasso's Three Dancers. I brought it up here. And I've shown that before. And even just in this, it's quite amazing, this work here. And just the color and everything. There's something very beautifully contemporary at the same time in Yolain's work. So awesome AI artist here. And as you can see here, just to zoom in, all the kind of classic, feeling of AI in here and all around. And again, these outlines are fantastic. So not quite sure how Yolain does it, but it's really cool. It's really its own thing. And it looks like art, and again, this just has Matisse written all over it, this shape here. So just very interesting to look at, kind of very celebrates the AI, what I'd loosely call AI distortions in the plant here. And so just a beautiful work, isn't it? Came out like a couple of days ago. Let's see, actually. When did this come out? July 21st. And today is the 24th, so 3 days ago. And it has a bid as of today, 0.33 ETH, which is maybe $600 or $700. Let's call it $600 right now. And so that is starting a 24-hour auction. Now, interestingly, cool title too, by the way. Actually, let's stick with the title before we look at the interestingly part. In the quietude, he discovers the world within himself, a staycation of the soul, shared with ones who truly matter. I like the modernness of this title, by the way. And so, staycation, it's pretty fun. Now, I thought it was interesting because Yolain is on Super Rare. And I just think it's interesting how Foundation is where this work has been posted. And now this is Three Dancers. We'll come back to Three Dancers in a second. So here's Foundation, and Yolain has actually posted a few things on Foundation. It makes me wonder if things sell better on Foundation. That's my question. I don't know the answer to that question, but there was this work that was released, and this was never sold. But I thought it was just an interesting decision. And maybe the idea is, and this is great, Cigarette Daydreams. I don't think we've ever seen this one. But maybe it's also, Yolain is thinking, I just put the super masterpiece on Super Rare. Who knows what kind of decisions are made. But I just thought it was interesting. Here is another one, an edition that went out with Super Chief, the artist times AI. and made quite a few sales on that one. Let me just see how many. Looks like about 13 actually, plus 12 or maybe 12 as part of that Super Chief Gallery show. So cool work here. So I guess this was part of that show. Now, here's the super rare work, which is great. This came out in January 19th and went for 1.32 ETH. So it's interesting because I went to the page, and Faith Love actually bought that, interestingly. I went to the page, and it's the only work, so who knows? I don't want to dwell on it here, but I thought it was interesting. So just one last thing, and I've brought this up before, which is the color scheme. The color scheme in Yolain's work really reminds me of this Picasso work. I think The Three Dancers. And let me just make it bigger here. I mean, doesn't that color scheme, maybe it's, yeah, as I like to say here, a bridge, maybe that's a bridge too far, as I like to say. Big shout out to Ed Marola. But especially the older works, kind of like the darker colors. Anyways, it just association there for me. And just really interesting work here from Yolain, as per usual. So continuing on, just a big thank you for the comments here on last episode. And just a couple of comments here. Lucas Ox, for 2 years now, I've been part of the beautiful and artistic cultural Tezos community. Artist Journal is one of the most representative shows in the ecosystem, offering a woke and conscious outlook on the blockchain's potential for creative identities. It's an honor to be featured, even just for a few seconds, on this wonderful show. Thank you very much. Well, that's really nice. I don't know if I've ever been called woke before, but yeah, let's go with it. Kyle Flemmer, thanks for showing Love Bomb. There are so many artists and works I admire in this episode. I really appreciate sharing space with you folks. And it's funny, I'm having an old problem that I had about 3 or 4 months ago where the shows keep growing because there's simply too much art to cover. So I always have to bring the editor's chopping block. But I'm going to try and rush through this episode, but there's a lot of art. Sabato. Hey, Poco. So this is actually quite interesting regarding to what we were saying last episode. Remember the Barbie series? And I was postulating that Sabato was using multiple ROM glitches in Photoshop in different layers. Well, that's not the case. Thanks so much for collecting works from my new Barbie series and for always being so supportive and sharing my art. These works are all raw glitches. And I love this. It's like raw AI. These are raw glitches. And I didn't need to composite anything. The flashing from CoverGirl is part of the gameplay mechanic during a bonus matching puzzle round. Although the Barbie game is really simple, it's one of the few Super Nintendo games released in North America that depict day-to-day banalities. So it sounds like you can change, it's part of the game. And so it just turned into a beautiful raw glitch. I'm glad I came back to it because there were some glitches I didn't try because of Tumblr's 2 to 3 megabyte size limits. But now I can mint a 50 megabyte GIF with a long loop that gives me more possibilities. Anyways, hope your move goes well. Thank you. Can't wait to see the new set. Well, here it is. I mean, I think I might need a green screen. And since we got now I'm facing the art, Gogolitis was also mentioning that maybe I should have like a logo or something, or just like something at the bottom right. So I think I'm going to try and professionalize this a little bit more, just so it looks slightly slicker. So yeah, work in progress. And I think I'm going to have to I need to raise this camera so I'm not looking down so much. And I need to get a green screen, I think, is where I'm going to go with this. But I have to order that, so that might be a week or so, maybe longer. McRenders, much love. Normally I watch first thing in the morning with my coffee, but was busy. Appreciate the feature with so many talented peers. KF has been killing it. His most recent pixel art piece as well makes me excited to see what else is in store. And finally, Runetoon, we're back to the pop artists. Yes, love the comment about screen printing being a forerunner to digital image making, replication, and variation. It was kind of an interesting observation, isn't it? That we come just through, having this discussion. I think there's also a connection we could make to the pop artists, specifically Warhol and his art factory rate of production. Yes, this is a major component of digital art that I think is worth highlighting. It's so kind of obvious. It's so close to us that it's easy to not mention. which is this idea of how much more work you can make in the digital sphere and by reusing pieces. And you see it also with AI artists. I mean, we've seen AI artists in the past who have literally put out like 30 works a day. And it's probably not something you should do, because all of a sudden, like, it kind of really seemed to reduce, they were beautiful works, and I even bought a few, but it seemed to reduce the value of the works when they were being released at that rate. So continuing on here, rate of production, often utilizing replication through the use of screen printing to digital artists who use digital media to replicate. Whereas the imperfections of screen printing printmaking were the variations on the replica that precede the glitch or the dither, or the various ways in which we can make digital media and alter the original file. So basically comparing the imperfections of screen printing to glitch. And I think that's actually a great analogy, or a great comparison. Because in a sense, what are we dealing with in both cases? And I would argue we're dealing with randomization, with the beauty of randomness. With Warhol, it's the randomness of the screen print and how the paint hits the canvas and everything that it misses, all the mistakes, so to speak, it not being perfect. And the glitch is a way of introducing randomness, non-kind of planned, non-rational, bringing in the non-rational into the work. So I think that's actually it's analogous. I mean, I want to say it's not parallel, but it's analogous. It's similar. There's a great similarity there. And yeah, so very interesting comment. Thank you. And PP Universal, thanks, Adrian, and good luck in moving. Thank you. It was an enormous job, and it continues to be, but now we've climbed the mountain. And also Busk from Runetoon, Busk Gracias just earned a follow from me, all about the underdogs over here. Thanks for sharing the reaction vid and profile. Yeah, that was a highlight of this show. One of the highlights of the show. Cool, new to this art, nice. Thank you, Kim Morse. So more from Busk Gracias, a couple of works actually in this episode. Quick update here. And thank you again, everybody, for the comments. So this went to this incredible work here that I think we were looking at last episode, The Artist is Dreaming by Ed Marola on Object 1. That went to Unknown Collector for only 500 Tezos. So Unknown Collector getting, I'd say, a pretty good deal. I was tempted, but I just don't have the means right now. So big congratulations to both. I thought this is going to be big, is sort of what my spider sense is tingling here, and you can even see it here. So Twitter has changed the name and logo, at least the logo to X. Now, so this could be really big, and let me just look at, so Mario Nawful, who used to have a CryptoPunk as their, so almost like semi-crypto kind of guy, has been kind of turning his account into kind of a pretty interesting news account, I have to say. It's almost a new form of news. Now, I'm bringing this up because most of us have the fortune to be on Twitter and to really actually have a pretty huge start over many people we know. Most people I know in the Berlin art scene, or just friends in general, a few have Twitter accounts. Almost none are active, maybe here and there, but basically they get discouraged, as many of us did, as maybe I did, and left it for years at a time, when you have like one like or no likes or whatever the case is. And so I want to bring this up because a lot of us have this massive advantage of having been on Twitter for years now, and with the NFT community. And so actually we're all building audiences with ourselves. So let me just show you this. X alert, Twitter becomes X. New logo goes live today. What is X? It's official. The Twitter bird is officially gone, and Meta's copy continues to die a slow death. X.com now points to Twitter.com, and the logo could go live today, so this was written a few hours ago. Just Elon Musk is keeping a tight lid on what is next for X, but there's been many teasers by Musk and Twitter creators. Future of the app. Musk has said he wants an everything app, or what some call a super app. Essentially, it will be an all-encompassing app that does tweets, spaces, video conferences, and gaming. However, it will go further and become the one-stop shop for things you don't currently do via social media apps: shopping, ordering food, getting a taxi, banking, news, official notifications from government services. It will probably be the wallet for your crypto. When Musk says everything, we can expect everything, even the crazy stuff. And finally here, as all these features are implemented, we'll probably also see X.AI also get integrated, where it'll sync with all the devices in your home. And so all to say, and it's basically, he's comparing it, he's going to say it's basically a Western or a non-Chinese, let's put it that way, WeChat, which is pretty interesting. So back to, I just see, I like to call this alpha for artists sometimes. If you're not set up on Twitter and you just happen to watch this show, you probably want to start getting set up. Or X. I just think this is worth noting, and I think a lot of us are lucky to be on Twitter or X already, and I think this is just something to keep tabs on. Because if this becomes the main app, then, as far as being artists on here, it just makes things very interesting, doesn't it? So just kind of a heads up there. Work in progress from Rat Cloak. Beautiful. I mean, it looks like a painting. It is a painting. It's a digital painting, and there's a real painting on the side. Look at how beautifully painted that is, too. So this is part of the Fake Bacon series, I think. And, of course, Rat Cloak has a lot of kind of darker works here. And interesting comment, tomorrow there will be an addition to my super rare collection, which is today, Fake Bacon, a collection for which I had high hopes and one work from which was never sold. It's good that all my hopes disappeared and I got the freedom to just enjoy the process. And, well, hopefully not all hopes have disappeared. This is a beautiful work, eh? So all to say, Rat Cloak is coming back. And yeah, this is all part of, being an artist, isn't it? I mean, not everything, it's a boom and bust business. I mean, Rat Cloak does pretty well. If Rat Cloak released something on Object, for example, it sells out like instantly and the price like triples. So all to say, and so maybe Rat Cloak just needs to, keep building the audience on Ethereum is maybe all that needs to happen here. But anyway, we'll be keeping tabs on what Rat Cloak puts out, and big shout out to Rat Cloak out there in Ukraine. And Rata, I thought this kind of fit with Rat Cloak's time is, empires rise and fall, art is forever. And so a cool pixel artwork with what looks like the Parthenon there in Athens, and then a Dali clock, melting time, and a beautiful work here by Rata. So just very cool, kind of someone celebrating a ritual with a beautiful, sunset, or maybe that's dawn. Also in the classical world, Tezos, with a work, I think what did he say? My ETH Genesis, Alaskan Villa, on display right now in Rome. Thanks Satirus NFTs, I'm not sure I've heard of them, for the pick. Go full screen here in Foundation apps. So pretty cool just to see it out there, and Tezos in Rome, and we're going to see some great work by Tezos in this episode. Gogolitis, just with a work in progress, and it just looks really cool. And playing with the cat and the newer colors here. So reusing old, I suspect, because Gogolitis has used the cat before, I suspect is probably reusing older elements and almost like a web page, just copying and pasting and then putting it in a new work. I think it's super cool. And almost it speaks to Runetoon's point there, as we were discussing, with the ability to copy and paste. Sketching a new, and here's another work in progress by Gogolitis, who's making a new reality simulator device. And Gogolitis' Instagram is looking awesome, by the way. And so that is also pretty exciting. That almost looks like something that could go on Solana with the widescreen 16 by, it's probably a 16 by 9, I'm guessing. This was an awesome work. I picked one of these up, Chaz, 8-Bit Ballers. And here, a retro what looks like an old PC or something, laptop with a plain Pong and a couple of cool images in the background. You know what? One of the things I like most about this work is actually the scale, the canvas size. I mean, I would guess this is maybe 100. Does it say? It does not say. Maybe in the details. No. So just an interesting work here by Chaz. Beautiful. Very poetic. I had to buy it right away. And other Barbie works, Barbie World Revisited by Sabato. This one was really cheap, by the way, $4.44 from Sabato, for a fairly low edition for Sabato. And just another beautiful glitch ROM from Sabato, who's getting pretty good at this whole thing. And here's another one. This is a 1 of 1 for 150 Tezos. And interesting glitch here. So, yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to open the glitch ROM. I even bought a really cheap PC to use the glitch ROM software. That was last summer. So I haven't had the opportunity yet, but seeing all this work just makes me really tempted. Because again, you can make work fast too. At least that's the impression I get. And it's beautiful. Just really cool work here. Silva Santus was Nintendo glitch ROM. Heracles no Eku 4 Kamigani Kara no Okurimono SNES. Another, I'd say, really original glitch ROM from Silva Santus. And just, you know, look at that great pixelated sea. A pixelated sea, and just the changing of the colors. Everything here. So, beautiful work here. Look at that. I mean, how long is this thing? It looks like, so we're seeing the sun rise. I mean, it's a beautiful, kind of goes really well with the waterfall. So just really nice work here. 220, edition of 22. So another really nice rising sun from Silva Santus. Really nice work. So here is Bosca Grazias, the person we've seen the collage work with the film negatives and the family watching the show. So Bosca Grazias is doing a different kind of glitch ROM with Maya Koenig. And let me just show you, who builds her own instruments and interacts with sounds linked to retro games and recycled toys. She teaches workshops on homemade electronic synthesizers and Game Boy programming. So here is Maya, just to give you some background before we look at the piece. So pretty cool, right? And there is Maya playing the Game Boy through all these mixers and everything. I mean, how cool is that? So back to the work here. That is your setup. So making the music for this piece. Bosque Grazia's doing the visuals. Now it's 2 minutes, so we can't show the whole thing here. But I thought pretty interesting. So just to give a little teaser on this video here, again, it's 2 minutes long by Bosque Grazias and Maya Koenig, so pretty rad work here. And 640 by 480, interesting. So very cool there. Continuing into a little bit of pixel art here. Nicholas Dietrich with another beautiful work. Tranquil Dwell, only working with what's already there. So 460 pixels squared times 10. So interesting kind of treatment of the leaves here, and then some nice dithering on this, what looks like the side of a house or apartment complex. An interesting color too. And you gotta love, maybe my favorite part is right here. This part with the kind of, with the lines that just change to show like the diagonal, and right here. So just really nice work here from Nicholas Dietrich as usual. Mech.txt with a pretty cool kind of 4-quadrant work, Come Forth Calamity. So interesting title here, and kind of looks, I mean, almost like a comic book here. And so you have a few works here, and then almost like a smaller 4-part structure here with what looks like a storm coming in. And then maybe a knight over here, and then almost like a comic book here, because you see the knight going, then you see the close-up. It's like a comic almost. Interesting. And then here, almost like two suns or two moons or whatever it is. Just kind of mystical landscape here from mech.txt. So Michael Micasso. And here was another one, Come Forth Peace. Just 2 pixels. So very cool here and just beautifully done. So again, how big is this? So this is probably 43 pixels by 43 pixel canvas size, scaled up by 100. So pretty, I think so, or maybe it's bigger. Maybe it's bigger, 4300 by 4300. I would guess it's somewhere, I'd guess 43 though, scaled up. And here's a collaboration by Tom Bombadil and Michael Micasso. So Michael Micasso doing the inside of the painting here, the skull, and here is Tom Bombadil's skull figure with kind of a mystical fire over top, and considering life and death, maybe secrets of silence, two deaths staring in silence, and with his suitcase here, and beautiful wallpaper, and even nice frame here, and everything. So cool works here. Trademark Tom Bombadil colors. Interesting animation. I thought this was great. Santiago, Portrait of Uxine. So I thought this was great. As soon as I saw it, I loved it. I'm not sure if it went for sale. I assume it did. Looking great again. So I thought that was great work here by Santiago. Element Lee with a super interesting, moody work, always keeping it incredibly unpredictable. As I like to say, the hallmark of good art is unpredictability and just keeping us surprised here. Car, 200 by 200 pixels. And I just think just a very, like, look at the color. Here's this person in this car at night. It almost looks like from the 40s or something. And this, unusual green kind of monochromatic color. Very interesting. It seems like maybe an experiment, but just very interesting work. 6 Tezos, 10 are left. Demon Ego with a new work, and the moment when everything will be revealed. So this appears to be playing with a few different. It's using the GIF technology to create different layers that can be juxtaposed in time, and we have a bunch of print, though, interestingly, works that are being kind of cycled through in GIF. I feel like we've seen that before with other artists as well, just this idea of taking different renderings. I think we've seen it with, say, Uxine, different renderings of a work, different exports, and then just kind of cycling through those exports in different ways. So interesting work here. I mean, that's one of many, many things going on here. And this is already 29 Tezos by Acid Soup on secondary, sold out on primary really fast, within an hour, at 11 Tezos each. So nice work for Demon Ego. Popple with an interesting work here. It seems to be a box and the sea, or the sea in a box. And Popple, of course, works with generative art oftentimes, so it's tempting to think that's what's going on here, and then just in this super minimal construction here. So cool work from Popple. I always check the views on Popple. Look at that, 15,000 views for Popple. Figments with a few works here. Playing with the RGB, Human Origins, cool title, Human Origins, RGB then came to be. So playing with the mysticism, almost as if this is out of like the book of Genesis, that right up there. But I mean, it's brilliant because, of course, RGB, when you put the red, green, blue, when you put them over top, create white. And here is the figure that Capin has highlighted as the kind of the representative of the human soul or of consciousness. And here, again, it's like this mystical pixel art. And again, this kind of looks like it's cycling through the RGB, and even these little rays are red, green, blue, white. So just really interesting. And these lines like here just make it even more interesting. So that is 50 Tezos already on secondary. Sold out at 10 Tezos each, edition of 15. Here's another one. Save Log. Beautiful titles here too. So Cap'n in great form here, putting out a ton of work, and it's all beautiful. Love this big box here too. And so I feel like maybe we've looked at this, or is this a newer one? This is July 17th. Okay, we've probably looked at that one. This one's July 23rd. This is newer, CPN RS6T8. So this kind of feels like the inside of a computer or a processor, a motherboard, as they would say. So just really cool. This looks like your processor over there, but who knows? All open to interpretation. So, and here there's almost like you see RGB, red, green, blue, but then in print it's CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is black. So very interesting. That doesn't look like an accident, does it? You know, Cap'n continues to be amazing. And look at this. Introspector, Stardust memory on secondary for 16. And again, just playing with this cool kind of figure who is on the other side through this portal here, this door, and almost like astronomical Milky Way type associations here in the background, in these elements in the background. Also, probably 10 Tezos on primary, and sold out within 4 minutes. So very popular series here. 8-bit kit with a pretty cool work, Fragment 35, Creative Suffering, and it's just an old school laptop repeated here, and then with a nice pattern in the background with color that cycles through, kind of dithered color that cycles through. Just a cool, good-looking work. 41 editions, price is $250, and that's on secondary. So this sold out at only 50 cents. So pretty reasonable price there. And this was posted by Lorna Mills. She retweeted this out. Let's see if we can translate this. A picture I drew for Sona Desi in Osaka. An apple being warmed by a stork on a cold glass. I really like it. So really interesting piece here. Playing with different kinds of, for lack of a better term, pixelation, or I won't even want to call it like retro. It almost looks like retro screens, but not quite. Maybe this is just all manually done. So very elaborate and unusual pixel art here. Very, very, very interesting work. And then you see this glass here, and even the subject matter. So interesting. Haiti Rocket with another. This is an interesting work too. Cool disc, work in progress, and what I suspect is happening here, and it's just a theory. Cool disc, work in progress. It's almost like these are just screenshots, really, or elements, of working with this theme, and then smashing it all together into a new work here. And again, you see the RGB, and just repeating things and making things happen. So edition of 7, 13 Tezos on primary, not a number, got one. Mick Renders got one. You got to be fast with Haiti Rocket. So continuing with the disc theme here, very cool. Interesting composition. Continuing on, Rakano with Pac-Man in a TV, in a retro TV. So how can that not be popular? There's Bridget, New York City, 5 Tezos each. So I'm sure that sold out right away. Really nice piece here. And a couple of scenes, interestingly. A couple of different perspectives here. And there's what looks like a flower or something kind of coming to pieces. And this was also really interesting. Cash Machine, ATM Tezos Swapper, 640 by 480 by Rakano. And this also sold out probably pretty quickly. So this is great too, with all this money coming out of this ATM. Tezos on the top there. So one of those ATMs you find outside a bar or on the street. And that sold out at 5 Tezos each within basically 20 or 40 minutes. So nice work. I mean, Rakano's putting out a lot of work. Here's Spiegel's Meskinen Commander. Norton Commander, 1995. So Norton, of course, puts out the antivirus software. And I assume, and maybe this is like a homage to old software. I mean, how cool would that be? What if this is a homage to old software? That would be pretty rad. I don't think I've ever we've seen that indirectly, but not in terms of just taking an old software. I guess we've seen it in the screenshots of works, say, by Bit, but this is kind of taking it in a further level. Very interesting work from Spiegel's Maskinen, edition of 50 for 20 Tezos each. And this was an interesting artist that I'd never seen before, Trilobite. Clusters altogether now, so animated abstract. I guess these are programmed, which is why it maybe looks a little different and kind of trickier to make. Just some colors. And I think I brought up Trilobites. Yeah, generative coder, pixel shifter, pattern maker, nostalgia evoker, glitch summoner, psychedelia elicitor, lo-fi enthusiast. So you can see just experimenting with different, animated abstract generative art. So interesting artist here on Tezos. Here's Tezos, who we saw's work is in Rome, has put out a cell phone series, and I think it's quite brilliant. And I believe these are all one-of-ones. So kind of like the Modern Furniture series, and then putting out all these different, applying a similar treatment and doing it to these old retro phones. I thought quite brilliant. I think they were all one-of-ones. Yeah, you can see them here. I mean, a couple are still available for 25 Tezos, by the way. And I mean, the thing is, what's interesting is had Tezos release these one at a time over the course of, say, a week or two, it makes me wonder if he could have gotten more money if he'd slowed the release of these out. It's just an open question, and maybe Tezos has, his own reasons for doing it this way, or just want to do it this way, and maybe it's just an experiment. Modern cellular history, and maybe more is coming, by the way. That one is hilarious. So very cool work here from Tezos. And I love this piece by Ex-Mortal Voyager. Of course, there's Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, which I believe, what do they call it? Is it deep space? When you leave the solar system? I think they're out there. And so here is that very famous, Voyager 1 spacecraft, which is, the furthest reaching object created by humanity out into the cosmos there. Safe travels, Space Voyager, 3D model converted to video. So Ex-Mortal, buy now for 5 Tezos. Very cool. And how many? 1 left on primary. And look at this. How did I miss this? How did I miss this iconic device? The Machine, I believe that's the title. The Machine by Uxine, a one-of-one of what appears to be the TB303, and which is a techno machine. And there Uxine is plugged in, or at least there is the skull plugged into the machine, and just a cool homage to the TB303. If I am not mistaken, but that seems clearly, and then a big happy face. So hilarious. And this went to Weblinks? Yeah, it went to an anonymous account that Weblinks had for only 650 Tezos. So pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of deals to be had in this bear market. A one-of-one. That is pretty good. That could be a great investment. Bankrupt, another work by Uxine that just appeared on Twitter, and I thought that was great. I think really interesting. I've never seen actually this. Like, a few things are going on here that I like. First, it's just the basic composition, where you have a skull with no, I think you'd call that a mandible, with no bottom jaw, and with a halo. And then the halo is so roughly done. I've never seen actually a halo done that roughly. So that is just, and then the businessman suit, Bankrupt. Just very interesting piece there by Uxine. Sumi Reusi with a work here, kind of a symbolic work, semi-surreal perhaps, Circle of Despair, edition of 6 for 10 Tezos, where you see a grasshopper in the middle of some matchsticks with the light shining from the grasshopper, interestingly. So, very interesting piece from Sumi. And Lucas Migone, where Jan Lucas Migone, I love forever updated. So a new work here from Jan Lucas Migone. So again, playing with the skeletons, a bit lighter colors maybe. But you see the paint strokes here, which are pretty trademark, and just, again, bodies in motion. Seems to often have classical kind of feeling to it, maybe references. And this is part of the Visions of Eternity gallery, and this already has sold, I believe, for 0.35. Oh, sorry, listed by D-Stroke. Okay, so this was listed probably by the Visions of Eternity Gallery for 0.35 ETH. So this is available. Look at PP Universal. I love this style. There's something about it, and here's Kermit the Frog just having a good time. It's beautiful. I think there's one of these. There's 3 left at 6 Tezos, edition of 5. Nice low editions here for these beautiful works by PP Universal. So just interesting. Kermit the Frog here with different kinds of colors. And Pamelo Cerrone with an edition of 1, Thug Row, and playing kind of this very rough kind of pixel, rough, like low resolution art. I mean, it's getting pretty interesting here. And again, combining it with these kind of textured paper that you can see in the blue and the yellow and all these fills, which kind of gives it a bit more of an organic feeling to it, doesn't it? And then just these kind of cryptic shapes here. I mean, the whole thing is kind of cryptic, isn't it? So more, again, very prolific right now. Pamelo Cerrone, 20 Tezos for a 1 of 1. Pixel art illustration. That's about sums it up quite well. Thug Row. Rustic digital art with an edition of 10. This probably sold out on PP Universal with the secondary. Sold out on primary for 5 Tezos. And a really nice piece here, where, again, juxtaposing different elements together with a synthesizer. And it looks like an interior with a massive mosquito. And then this looks like the Cloud series. And you see these clouds, oddly shaped clouds in the background, the light and everything. University of Tezos, again, a high, it almost looks like an album cover to a certain degree. And again, always seeming to play off the irrational here, or even the absurd to a certain degree. Carlos, interesting title. So available on secondary for 35. Gabby Walter, Fallen Angels. So continuing the Mickey Mouse with the broken ear, and what looks like a angel and a devil figure here with some outdoor equipment and maybe the sun rising here as well. And just some worker tools and some beautiful, excuse me, some beautiful painting in here and just nice, interesting wall. Kind of a mysterious work here, Fallen Angels. Available for $29.50 on secondary. Edition of 20, let's just see what it went for. Sold for very little, $240 on primary. So that is interesting. So sold for quite low for Gabby Walter, who has a lot of collectors on Tezos. Here's Little Cakes again. Awkward Office Friendships 1. So here, just more, again, what I want to call mysterious work here. It looks like the inside of an office with Little Cakes' kind of neon colors here. Kind of a strange work, almost like the office worker is imagining these things to the left in an interesting black background. Just kind of a mystifying work here. Edition of 5, 20 Tezos on secondary. Sold out at 4 Tezos on primary. And Ile picking up the first one there. Awkward Office Friendships. I mean, it's almost like it's a big metaphor for meeting people at the office. I mean, it's pretty funny. Quila Nina, digital painting Amaru. So, cool work here. This is in Procreate. Procreate and Photoshop 2023, open edition for $350 each. And just a interesting, fully digital work here. And you almost see the snake coming through here and coming back up. And these 2 musicians here in the middle. And of course, Quila Nina is out of Peru and Argentina. And really interesting plants here. And also makes a lot of beautiful acrylic and oil painted works. And here has been getting into digital, and I'd say probably the last 6 months. Interesting border here. I love how people experiment with the frames here. Really nice toenails there too. $350 on primary, and that is available for another 4 days. Wasteman Goldminovich, another failed artist. Self-portrait blowing off steam with the guys at work. And there is the failed artist upside down. Almost looks like a medieval setting with these guys in McDonald's chainmail and everything. And interesting, yeah, kind of a medieval castle setting, wall, and nicely painted sky here with a bit of texture in the clouds. Interesting piece. $420 on primary, and there are 10 left. Edition of 12. Merlakos with Homer Xanadu. I've seen a few Simpsons works, so maybe there's something going on with that trademark. And here is another Simpsons work. Like, who was it? I think it was Rocano, who also had a Simpsons work. And here, I mean, this is trademark. This like red iris that Marlakos likes to do, and this great patterning here. And here is the castle, and just kind of trademark colors. You see no black outlines here. And then this kind of like human Homer with this beautiful, almost myth-like clouds in the background. Great work. 5 Tezos, 6 left. Beautiful. Very interesting and mystifying. Axstone with what looks like a comic. GML, a page from my upcoming comic book, Slow Rider. I'm very excited about this project, and we'll share more pages with you in the coming days. So pretty cool, pretty successful artist. I think out of Turkey on Super Rare, and is putting out a comic. So more overlap between zines, comics, and fine art here. So it'll be interesting to see how Axstone releases that. Turkarak with a beautiful work here, a 1-of-1 Kral Music Hall. So just another, it's almost like Turkarak is combining the painterliness of the new style with the illustrations of before. It almost feels like a return to the old style, actually, a little bit here. So this is interesting. And just one of the, so many figures in here. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Bruegel a little bit in all the different figures and everything. I mean, a ton of work put in this one. And here there's the dancer and all these people hanging out at a musical. Only 35 Tezos, 1-of-1. And Smonter with another interesting piece here, Hidden Room, and just another super interesting illustration here with wires. Looks like some sort of sci-fi. There's the red button. It almost all connects. You know who Smonter reminds me a little bit of? Just a little bit, is Mobius. That famous, he's sort of seen in like the 70s and the 80s, 1980s, as a European comic artist. Because most comics were coming out of North America. And Mobius kind of had this very, you know, was sort of seen as a European style. And it kind of reminds me of Mobius a little bit. Beautiful work here from Smonter, only a Tezos 50. And there, I think it's on secondary. Primary is 1 Tezos, so selling really cheap still. Timothy Julien, back. And with a couple of works, I mean, they're almost reminiscent a little bit of, it's almost like Giorgio de Chirico meets, you know, Roy Lichtenstein is almost how this feels. I mean, this feels like a bit of a Chirico, you know, sky here, and even just the way these stairs go up. There's something just kind of poetic. Geffen. Here's another one. Just playing with architecture and these filling. Again, playing with the fills. We've discussed this a lot in different digital artists where they say like PP Universal, for example, or like Human Kernel, where you kind of make your outlines and then you just fill it with patterning, and you can even remove those outlines after. Sometimes you keep them. And then just using these outlines of images, of shapes within the image, of objects, as opportunities to put patterning. So pretty interesting, and big wide margins here, almost like a Passepartout on top of the work here. 250, edition of 10, and it looks like it's sold out, which is awesome. Sold out 50 cents each, so very reasonable. And a new work from Daniel W. here from the Ars Goetia Salos. And let me just make this bigger. So more kind of mythic-looking works that I can't recognize here. Crocodile with a knight. And kind of almost looks like a sigil or something over here. And hilariously, this modern iconography, the hourglass over top of the spear, which makes me think this use of the hourglass, that maybe, and even the crown here too, maybe Daniel W. is actually, in fact, making up kind of new mythic characters, which would be super impressive. Because there have been some very interesting ones here so far. A collaboration with Santiago and Yuri J. We have a few of them here. And just an interesting combination. It's almost like you can tell that this is Santiago. It looks like a soccer game, first of all. A lot of them seem to have almost a soccer theme. And you can see like Santiago has these big kind of vector shapes, and then Yuri J maybe does the fills with the patterning. Really interesting combination. This interesting net here, what looks like a soccer ball, and some cones and everything. Just interesting, almost light orange sky playing with the sun. Tiago. So cool work here. Let's just see what happened. 200 Tezos to a collector within half an hour. So that is impressive. Under the olive tree, another one. And this is 40 Tezos on... Wow, so these did really well. Let's just see here. 6 Tezos sold out within basically within an hour. An addition of 25. That's pretty good. And just kind of cool work here. Feels like an interior. You see the piano here and everything. Cool kind of use of negative space and not, where it kind of turns into just mark making, but then it also kind of has an interior. There's almost a space here with this ladder, this lamp, and then this chair, but then there's a fence, but then a table, sofa, and what looks like a old school computer screen here. Interesting. And here's another one, Back to the Moon. So this almost looks like several old, Greek style ships heading towards a black sun, or as they say, heading to the moon, back to the moon, and with beautiful, again, mark making here. Big, interesting combination of abstract and representation here. I mean, there's nothing quite like this, is there? It's kind of outrageous, all this mark making all over the place. And just really interesting work. I mean, very original. Edition of 100. It's available for $469. I'm not sure if that's primary or secondary. Looks like they all sold out at 2 Tezos. That is pretty impressive, except for 14 there. So selling well. Here is Mikael Nolson, Mikael Nolson, and this I think just sold here. This abstract work. Lisa on the Day When I, collected by LV on Super Rare, part of the hyper-nostalgic romantilism, or How I Learned to Kill All My Dead Darlings All the Time series. So just another interesting, looks like sampled brushes that are dragged. So just really cool work here from Mikael Nolson. And another beautiful, beautiful collage from Bosque Grazia's 3 Tezos. So here I don't see a Renaissance painting, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. So interesting collage photography, photo collage from Bosque Grazia's, who shows up twice in this episode. Edition of 7 for 3 Tezos. Bullen 132 with a cool collage here. And as you can see, all sorts of stuff going on here. It almost looks like AI, but it's not. Digital collage and digital painting behind the red door. Edition of 1. And usually... Bullen likes to release one of ones. This sold for very cheap, $12.50, and releases maybe once a day on average. And then just interesting collage there. And this is Tukes, as you could probably recognize here. What is this called? La Dame du Sommeil, minted 7 days ago. And so another AI artwork. This is available for 0.3 or a reserve of 0.1 at auction. So always experimenting. Tukes, and keeping it interesting here. This almost has kind of a 1910, 1920, what is the name of the movement I'm trying to think of here? Almost Art Deco kind of feel to it at the top, but then interesting, AI, gradations at the bottom. Interesting colors too. Always interesting there. What is Iana? With a few works here on Tezos View. And this is from July 23rd, and interesting, I'm a huge fan of the magic wand, or the fill tool. As you can see, it creates these great textures here. And combining that with some digital painting also over top in the white, and then taking what looks like an AI artwork, reminiscent of Caillebott's floor scrapers. Let's see if we can find that quickly. Caillebott floor, oops. This is a very famous work, but you see down here, let's actually open this in another very quickly. Floor Scraper Chicago. This is a very famous work. And you see here Gustave Caillebot. I think, not sure if he didn't make a ton of works, but he wasn't as prolific as Monet or Renoir. But this was fascinating because it was almost like, the peeling of the painting a little bit here. these floor scrapers. Like there's something kind of self-referential about the painting process, seemingly. About, peeling off the surface here a little bit, showing the roughness. Not sure, but kind of reminiscent just down here. Just an association in my head, really, more than anything. Interesting composition here, and this is AI with this digital painting and fills over top. Here's another experiment here, Red List by What is Iana. So again, playing with the fills here, where you get all these great textures and then also using some digital painting over top of this AI image. Continuing on, Sky Goodman with some cool elements, as he puts it, or as they put it. Just cool work here, shoes and everything. I really like this composition of just putting all of these different seemingly experiments together. These seem like different shoes all on one page, kind of something Warholian about it. And here is a fully rendered, almost photorealistic version, probably using, I'm guessing, the latest Midjourney, not sure, by Sky Goodman here as well, just beautiful. Again, looks like as real here, and nice mirror underneath as well. Nice reflection. So beautiful work there. And this is by Evelyn O. Coming along nicely, needs some changes before it goes in the oven. So this is like digital, as Evelyn puts it, digital ceramics. Shout out to Evelyn O. So playing with digital ceramics. So kind of interesting here, and putting images on this image of a vase. And that is your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your patience as I get settled here at my new place. Until next time, take care.